The first God of War was a spectacular action game and would set the bar for future flashy hack and slash games that followed in the Greeks' footsteps. A sequel was always inevitable. God of War 2 was even hinted at the end of the first game. God of War was designed as a trilogy, and the second game would be one of the last big hitters for the PlayStation 2, releasing even after the PS3 had already launched. But was that to stand in its way? God of War 2 was hailed by critics at the time of its release as one of the best games for the system.
Okay, hello everyone. Cory Barlog here, director of God of War.
God of War 2 saw a new director, changing from Twisted Metal's David Jaffe to Cory Barlog. His idea was to simply do what the first game did, but make it even bigger. He wanted to expand the combat and magic system, he wanted more boss battles, and he wanted the sequel to dive even further into Greek mythology. God of War 2 takes place after the first game. Kratos is the new God of War, and just like Ares before him, his power has turned him into a bringer of war as he lays siege to the city of Rhodes.
Enough, Kratos! With every city you destroy, the wrath of Olympus grows. Soon I will no longer be able to protect you.
I need no protection.
Do not forget that it was I who made you a god, Ghost of Sparta. Do not turn your back on me.
I owe you nothing.
Then you leave me no choice.
Zeus fears Kratos will use his power to overthrow him as king of Olympus. And well, he can't have this. He comes to Earth, robs you of your godly powers, and kills you in cold blood.
This path is of your choosing. A choice from the gods is as useless as the gods themselves. Even now, as you draw your last breath, you continue to defy me? Everything you have ever known, Kratos, will now suffer because of your sacrilege. You will never be the ruler of Olympus. The cycle ends here. You will pay for this, Zeus. Be certain of that.
However, Kratos' story is not finished yet. The Titan Gaia revives you. She tells you your only way to defeat Zeus is to seek out the Sisters of Fate, who control time itself. Before you set off on your quest, you alert the last remaining Spartan warrior to return to Sparta and rally up any final soldiers that he can find. You'll journey through ancient Greece, gaining all of your lost powers. Your adventure in 2 is even larger than before. On Pegasus, you'll fly to the island of creation, take another trip to the underworld, and finally reach the Palace of the Fates. Kratos' character receives a ton more development in this sequel. Oftentimes we can bask in our strength as we enjoy being powerful and oftentimes evil, but other times we can empathise with Kratos. The side characters also get bigger roles in this game than the first. Certain gods like Athena have much larger impacts on the story, and Zeus as a villain plays a bigger role in Kratos' character development than Ares did in the first game. Zeus has reason here, whereas Ares was angry for the sake of simply being the god of war. God of War 2 boasts an enormous amount of boss battles, 4 times the amount than in the first game. You'll face off against the gargantuan Colossus, classical Greek heroes such as Theseus and Perseus, who dare get in Kratos' way, the mighty Kraken, and even Zeus himself in a climactic confrontation. The bosses this time around are longer, much more dynamic. You get crushed by these bosses, you get smashed by these bosses, and still Kratos comes back kicking and screaming, and it all delivers an enthralling experience that is hard to put down. God of War 2 also has a remarkable encounter later on in the game that makes you question your own actions. It's dark and it's not clear who you're fighting until after the battle is over. It's revealed to both you and Kratos that it's the last Spartan from earlier who was sent to find aid. After quite a touching moment, you feel the anger upon Kratos and yourself for killing one of your last remaining allies.
Now you are all that is left. I have faith that our brothers of Sparta will live on through the true God of War.
Zeus! Is this how you face me, coward? I am through doing the bidding of the gods! Come down here and face me now, Zeus!
A boss with a plot twist like that, I had never seen anything like that when I first played it. And then right after you defeat the last Spartan, you get flown into the battle against the Kraken. And it's pacing like this that makes God of War 2 such a joy to go back to and play today. The combat here for God of War 2 is just as flashy and visceral as before, just with a few new abilities and upgrades that make it even more fun to play through, such as chests are opened simply by holding down R1 rather than mashing R2, climbing downwards is made much easier and faster, and you can now cancel the special attack to save wasting some of your bar. Now replacing the Blade of Artemis from the first game, God of War 2 has 3 new extra weapons, although one is unlocked after completion of the game. The other 2 are the Barbarian's Hammer that has slow and high damage attacks, whilst the other is the Spear of Destiny that has more longer range attacks. The wealth of alternative combat options is very welcome, and also is the item you get later in the game, the Golden Fleece, which allows you to block an incoming attack as usual, but with precise timing parry it and repel the attack back to sender. To add to the fairly dismal platforming segments from the first game, 2 has a new grapple feature, so you can swing on certain ledges like Spider-Man. It's still not a deep platforming system, but definitely adds to the overall spectacle of the game. The puzzle portions also saw an upgrade from the last game. While they had the same grand architecture, in 2 they were a little less inhuman and more fair, relying more on puzzles that involved powers such as slowing down time, rather than life or death traps like before. Just like the first game, God of War 2 was truly a masterpiece in presentation, from its superb voice cast, stunning set pieces and backdrops to award-winning music tracks, one of which even made it into Guitar Hero. God of War 2 is without a doubt one of the best looking and sounding games for the PlayStation 2. After your battle with Zeus, Kratos unleashes the Titans, and together they march to Olympus for the final battle. Except you'll have to wait till God of War 3, as 2 ends on a painful cliffhanger. Now this is one of my biggest gripes with 2, as its story here isn't finished. The first game had a satisfying conclusion, with you overcoming your task and becoming the new God of War. But in 2, the end doesn't really have the same satisfaction. However, after completion, like the first game, 2 comes with a titan load of unlockables and extras, from behind the scenes videos, the God of War staple challenge mode, new costumes, cheats in the form of collectible urns you find in the game, and even the new 4th weapon, the Blade of Olympus, the very weapon Zeus kills you with at the beginning. All of this gives you more than enough reason to play through it once again.
If all on Olympus will deny me my vengeance, then all on Olympus will die. I have lived in the shadow of the gods for long enough. The time of the gods has come to an end.
God of War 2 was a terrific sequel to the first game. It was everything you'd want if you enjoyed the original. More flashy combat, more chaotic boss battles, more grand set pieces, more screaming at the heavens. Kratos is an awesome character to play as, and this game was the perfect embodiment of him. I wouldn't say it's the deepest action game, but God of War 2 shows you that it doesn't need to be, in order to be a fun and encapsulating mythological experience. The swan song of the PS2 gets a grandiose score from me of an A for awesome.
Zeus, your son has returned! I bring the destruction of Olympus!